Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Course Correction here on Between Us Girls. With me, your host, Michelle. You guys, I have not been in a great mood today, and listening to this episode really gave me the turnaround I needed because it reminded me of why I was brought here. Okay. This episode is going to be the first episode where you hear me talk about numerology, and of course, it was by sudden chance, synchronicity, or what have you. And so I'm kind of excited about it, but I'm also a little bit nervous because I know you guys are not used to that from me. And so this is going to be something new. So you might hear me talk about that regularly. Numbers, I am studying numerology and I am getting into my spiritual bag and finding out what my gifts are and what tools I should be using. So that's kind of why I am on that. And actually, as I look around my office, I see 111 at least 5 times. And that is the number that we talk about later on in the episode. So, if you want to hear what me and Jenn Ekeoba talk about, she is my guest this week. She is actually one of my creative clients as well, but she's an author. And so I wanted her to share kind of her creative process and, just a little bit about her stories and how she writes them. So if you're interested in listening to me and Jen talk about life, love, and numerology, keep listening. What is your zodiac sign so that I can properly stereotype you? And as a Taurus, how has some of your stubbornness or steadfastness assisted you as a writer? Now you
Okay. So I would say as a Taurus or the stubbornness and the steadfastness, it has a positive and a negative effect on my writing. And I'll start with negative and then I'll end with the positive side of it. So I would say with the stubbornness of that has kind of affected me in my writing has been just accepting criticism. For me, that's the hardest part, and I think it's not so much just due to me being a Taurus. I think that for any writer, our words, that's our baby. And so when we get any type of criticism or a bad review, we don't want to hear it, even though there might be some validation to it. I would say that's kind of like the negative part. um I don't think steadfastness is too much, a negative aspect. But going to the positive sign, the stubbornness and steadfastness kind of go hand in hand, where you refuse to give up. If you're working on a project or you have writer's block, which I get that a lot of the times, we fight to try to get through that. It's like, oh my God, my characters are no longer speaking to me. The voices stop, talking, not in a bad way, but how am I going to finish this chapter? And so you're kind of looking at, okay, how can I get rid of writer's block? And for me, my methods are, I look at, either read comic books or I watch cartoons, something that kind of get those creative juices, my imagination to just kickstart. And that helps me through that part of it. And I can get back into writing, and my voices start coming back, and everything's all good.
So I want to hear more about these voices because I think that's really cool that you are saying that. Well, and the reason why I said that is because so many people don't acknowledge that they're getting the messages or the images or the ideas from the voice, you know what I mean?
hmm
So how did you recognize that and realize that it was a tool for you?
I it's been that way since I was a kid. I've I come from a family of five, so I have three other sisters and a brother, but I was the quiet one, and I was quiet because, and it sounds weird, but my imagination is just going. Like, I can sit there and I can create this whole story, and I'm cool. And it kind of translated to, hey, I want to play out this story I had in my head. And at that time, my dad he's the one that kind of recognized, okay, she might have something going on here. And so he, kind of wrote out what the story was that I had in my head until I got to the point where, I could write on my own. And it's just been that way since then. And it's like I can be sitting somewhere in a meeting, or, when I was in class, and I just, kind of go into that blank space, and I just the story is going on. It's like, wow, this is a pretty cool world. Let me put this down on paper. And so I mean, and I don't say, I haven't said it a lot, but it's like as I got older and meeting other writers and other creatives, and we have these discussions, and I say, yeah, my friends are not talking to me, and they're like, yeah, I understand what you're talking about. It's like a whole different person that you're able to interact with, and you're telling their story. And it's hard to really put into words, but it's a really cool experience. And if you're a writer, you understand what I'm talking about.
Jen, I think that's an intuitive gift because everyone is not everyone is not in touch with that. Like even some writers, like you can tell in reading your work that it's not coming from a flat plane. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like in reading some people's work, you just kind of it's I don't want to say what is the
It's
word
like
I'm looking for? There's no feeling.
one no feel, it's one dimensional.
Right. You can't, there's no way for you to connect with it. You can't
Hmm.
jump into it.
Hmm.
For somebody like you, when you're writing, you're in the story, like you're there. You know what I
Oh.
mean? You've
Yeah.
done that work to really just kind of give us enough roots. It's rooted in something. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
And don't discount that. You know what I mean? Like that's so important because everyone is not doing that. Everyone is not hearing what to write.
Yeah. And I think that us as writers, especially, those of us that want to move into maybe training other writers, that's a piece that is not really spoken about. I've taken different courses and trainings, and it's always about like the technicalities of writing, which is
Mhm.
great. You need that, but it's the, like you said, the roots, the foundation of it. Because when you create a character, this is in my mind, like, this is an actual person. And
Mhm.
some characters are based on people that you met in passing, or you known for some time, and you take different elements. But for me, this is an actual person, because the story that I'm telling, it could touch whoever that reader is, and they need to know that, okay, this is someone I can relate to. And whatever message that I'm trying to put out there through my writing, I hope that it will prick them, and have some type of impact in their life. And so I think it's really important that we kind of touch on that piece when we talk about writing, because we're setting up a plot, that's great, but you need to be cognizant, or you need to be mindful of your characters. Like, these are living, breathing people, that you need to give them some dimension.
Mhm. Right, because when we're reading the story, we want to get into it. That's why we got the book. You know what I
Right.
mean? Oh, this sounds good. I want to read it. You didn't get it so that you could be like, Jane has blonde hair. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
I want to know, like, I want to know what moves her, what grew her, what made this person, what they are. And,
Hmm.
that only comes from good writing. And I wanted to say to your point where you haven't really had people talk about that experience, it's because it's not happening to everyone.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Everyone is not writing from that real, true heart that you're using whenever you write. So don't discount yourself, girl.
Thanks.
So also, I want to note that it's really cool that your dad was so supportive of you and would write out your story for you.
He was, but not always. So my dad, he's no longer living,
Hmm.
but he's from Nigeria, was from Nigeria originally. And so his dream for me and for all of his kids is that we become doctors.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the one fighting against that. But I mean, I've just been a creative person, and it's kind of like, in there's that Taurus stubbornness, and he's a Taurus. He was a Taurus as well.
Oh.
Yep. And so being him, it's always, you know, trying to make a compromise, because I'm like, well, why do I have to do this? And he was like, you do it because I said to do it. And I'm like, no, it's not going to work. And so the compromise is that me pursuing um pre-med, which I really ended up not doing. But the compromise is that he'll let me be creative and express myself. And I think it's more so because I was the quiet one,
Mm-hmm.
and this is he understood, okay, this is her outlet. So let me encourage that, so she can continue to have that confidence to talk to people and not just be so isolated.
But I was going to ask you to talk about your books, to talk about the series, and to just kind of go from the start to how you kind of got to where you are right now, even at the point of what made you want to write.
Ooh, gosh. Um, So, my book series is called the My Funny Valentine series. It was actually based on a play I was writing back in high school, and um, it kind of just it transformed into from a play to kind of like short stories, to me deciding to write a book by the time I was in graduate school. And so kind of going to the premise of the book. So the book series, its central characters are Dr. Kenya Jones. She's a young psychologist. And then Lawrence Washington, who is this very successful lawyer, who is also like the worst douchebag you would ever meet on a date. He's like the guy with all the red flags. But and kind of the story surrounds both of these characters experiencing love, experiencing growth, um, learning how to deal with past traumas that they've experienced, either during their childhood that has affected them as an adult, or trauma during a relationship that they've had, and how that has shaped their view of people. And I started out with the self-publishing piece in 2012, and didn't go as planned. I'll just say that.
Hmm.
Uh, I started publishing the book in 2012. Like I said, it didn't go as planned, and now we're 2019, and I made a decision to re-release it as as a second edition, to kind of get back into the love of not just the story that has so many important themes that I didn't realize were so important back when I first published it, but just to get back into the love of writing, period. And so with this particular book series, um, it I'm still finishing out the last two books in the series. So the first book is available now on Amazon. The second book will be available sometime in September. I'm not giving a date just yet, because I'm still polishing up. I like it to be nice and pretty, for everyone. And then still working on the final two books. Um, and in a nutshell, that's really the series.
So do you think that whenever you first started writing, maybe you just wrote, like what you felt or whatever, but maybe you didn't even understand the weight of the messages in there?
Oh, most definitely. When I was doing the final proofreading for the first book, I'm like, I didn't realize I was this woke. back in high school. I'm like, what was I talking about? Because I experienced certain, I experienced love at the high school level. I mean,
Mhm.
it wasn't like love, it was like puppy love. But I was writing about themes, like toxic masculinity when I was in high school. I'm like, how was I this aware of what was, going on around me?
Mhm.
And um even feminism, I mean, and I didn't think of myself as a feminist back then. It's like now, everything has changed now that I'm, I've grown up, I'm grown now.
Mhm.
But then it's like I was really just telling a story. And just over the years, and how the story developed through from a play to a little short story that I was writing for in high school, and then publishing it. And once I got to the age of 30, I realized that I had, and well, I'll say, let me go back. So 30, but now 2018, when I first started the rewrites, I realized that I gave myself a responsibility, that I'm touching on subjects that we don't talk about in the Black community.
Yeah.
And think subjects such as mental illness,
Mhm.
suicide, domestic violence, and like I mentioned, toxic masculinity. We don't talk about those subjects. It's kind of like you hear about it now, these are buzzwords now, but it's not, we don't discuss it in depth. And it's starting to happen now because we're having, we're gaining so many Black mental health professionals. But I think that just within our homes, and those of us that have kids coming up, or us that have nieces, nephews, whatever, it's the time that we need to discuss this, because we need to break those curses. And a lot of us, and I would say myself included, we felt trapped by it. And so looking at my books now, and finishing up these new editions, it just blows my mind that I started out just trying to tell a story, but the impact of it, I didn't realize that that was the impact that I was going for, the impact that I would have, or hope to have on other people.
I think in hearing you talk about this, I think that's why it's important to listen to those inner voices, because you didn't know about any of the stuff that you were writing about, right? Not
Right.
really.
No,
But
I didn't know.
it's still important information that needs to be out here. So
Mhm.
that's why I think it's so important to like really kind of get in tune with that intuition, the voice that comes to you while you're writing, or for people who don't write, the voice that comes to you whenever you're driving down the street. Like it's important to be listening to that, because it's telling you everything that you need to know, or what you need to do, or what your next steps are.
Mhm.
And I really feel like you might be a lot more magical than you realize.
I don't know. And I'm a very solitary person, but I've I've learned on this new journey that I'm on, and I like what you said, about listening to those voices, um, because there are times where I'll ignore it, and
Hmm.
sometimes ignore it to my own, detriment.
Yeah.
And now that I'm listening to it, there has been a shift in my life. And sometimes it's uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
I think with the discomfort, you're getting um sustainable growth. And for me, that's important. you know
Well,
it
the growth, you can't have the growth without the discomfort, you
Right,
know. And I
right,
think that's what we miss so much, is because we want to do all these amazing things. Oh, I'm about to be this person, or I want to be this person. You cannot be that person in the seat that you're in. You know what
right,
I mean? You're gonna have to change some.
right. Right. And that's something that I have to that I had to learn. I'm still learning, is to embrace the discomfort. Like it's temporary. And that's something that I always have to remind myself it's temporary. Um I mean, I don't really think I'm this magical person. I don't know, but
You gotta
I
know.
leave that to other
You
people to say.
you must know it. I mean, I've never had anyone tell me that they write a book and hear voices that tells them what to write. I'm
You
sorry.
know,
Like, come on.
it sounds like the plot of The Shining. I don't know, but I it just it's that's the best way I can explain it. And um I mean, I hope it doesn't go away. And I look at it as, okay, God gave me this talent, so let me go ahead and write and get this stuff out, because I will tell you, if you try to hide your talents, your life is going to be hell. I'll just say that, because I did that. I did it for 2 years, and my life was just like all over the place. And everything kept saying, you need to write. I kept meeting people that kept pushing me to do it. And then that good old, Taurus stubbornness was like, no, I'm not doing this anymore.
Right.
But,
Yeah, what I
yeah, but those voices were still there. And so it's like, you know what? Voices and other people, I'm gonna do it. It needs to come out, because it's important. Like you said, if people, you're in your car driving and those voices pop up, or something telling you, it's telling you for your betterment, or the betterment of someone else. And I think, spiritually, that's how we function with each other. We're not just here just to wake up, brush your teeth, go to work, complain about work, come home.
complain about work.
You're right. And then
It was so good though.
and then do it all over again. We're here, we have a higher purpose to impact one another in
Mm,
one way or another.
I definitely agree with that. And that's what's been coming up for me actually is sharing. I need to be sharing my message and my gifts with others. And while I do that, I think that there's more work for me. And I'm not quite sure what that is. I'm trying to listen to myself so that I can tell myself and be knowing what I'm supposed to be doing so that I can hear my voices. So I've been using meditation to kind of align myself. Do you have some methods that you use to keep yourself centered?
I do. I started practicing meditation. It's been maybe 18 months ago. I started
Okay.
doing that. I get my little spa radio on Pandora, and I just take 30 minutes for myself. Usually I do it after work,
Mhm.
because that's when I need it the
Yeah,
most.
when
Uh,
you need the most realignment. Oh my goodness.
and I just have to get back to myself, or I literally take a day for
Mm.
myself. So even it's like a Saturday or a Sunday, and I'm like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just being with myself, and so I can just realign my energy, do that.
Mm.
And of course, music, that I use that all the time. That that's my therapy. I have my little playlist depending on the mood, whether it's going to be 80 British pop or some Beyonce, Janet Jackson mix that I put together, depending on how I feel. It just takes like everything that those outside energies, whether negative energies or just too much energy. Period. Um, it lets me escape.
Mhm.
Um, and I can refocus on when I have my chance to escape. I'm back, and I'm able to interact and attack the day like normal Jen
Yeah,
can do.
like a champ. Like
Yeah.
that's Jen. I'm really working on being my best self. And I'm trying to go back to like self-care because that's another thing that keeps coming up for me.
Hmm.
I say it like that because I ask the universe for answers. And whenever I start seeing things repeatedly, I'm like, okay, synchronicity, that's what I asked for. So it continues to be care for yourself, be in your femininity, and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I combed my hair today.
That look, that's like a great start. I didn't do that, so I literally put on a hat, and I'm in a hat now. So, and it's gonna be that way for the rest of the day. So,
Mhm.
but that's a good start for
Yeah,
you for self care. Period.
right.
Just that.
And I think like everything you said about how you recenter yourself, the things that you do is definitely just self-care to me. But I wanted to go back to what you said about um, serving others. Well, you didn't say it like that, but that's what you said. So I think that's so important. I think we miss that, you know, in this experience is that whatever you do, because people always want to be rich, right?
Right. Right.
Well, you can't be rich if you're not going to serve others, because who's going to pay you?
Right. And it's weird you say that because I had this conversation yesterday. Um,
Synchronicity.
yep, with the friend we were talking about that. He's an actor, and he's on the same little journey, just rediscovering himself and just you know understanding what he's really passionate about.
Mhm.
And I said to him, um, remember, in the Bible it talks about the parable of the talents. And, one's given five, another three, another one. And the person that had the one talent um, buried it because he didn't want anybody to take it. But the
Yeah.
ones that had, the five and the three, they, is it five and three? Don't, it's not a direct quote. So I'm interpreting what I just, from
Girl,
him. I don't
just
have a,
preach.
yeah.
Just preach. Don't worry about it.
So, the ones that had the five and the three, they helped other people and their talents doubled.
Yeah.
The one that buried it, it was taken away from them because of selfishness. And we were, discussing, these talents that, we're blessed with. And, we get into a mindset of, people, we've had negative experiences, both of us on in our different journeys, him acting, me and writing. And sometimes, those negative experiences make you decide, I'm not sharing this with anybody anymore because your mindset has totally changed.
Yeah.
But once you get to a level where, or, you decide, oh, I'm the best, singer, I'm the best, whomever, I'm the best podcaster, whatever.
Mm.
But you're not
I
using it.
am the best podcast. Just kidding. Keep going.
Yeah. You're one of my favorites, so I'll say that.
Thank you, Jen. My favorite
But you're not using that talent of your charisma or your talent of influencing other people to help someone else.
too. Mm.
You'll lose it. And sometimes
Yeah.
you won't lose it like right away, and people think, oh, that's probably what that means. It's like, no, you'll probably lose it over time, or lose it in a way that you never thought of it being considered a loss. And those of us are especially those that are very or creative. There's purpose for our content.
Hmm.
And we you know help people to relax. We help people to unwind, make them laugh, make them think, start
Yep.
conversations. And it's we shouldn't hide it. So even if you think that, oh, my talent is not the best, or I'm not going to be on the level of so and so, you still have something to contribute. God has given you this particular unique talent. You need to share it because you never know who it's impacting. And you'll, over time, and it might not be right away, but over time, you'll see those additional blessings, additional growth that you've, probably been wanting, because you decided, I'm not going to hide, my God given, my, this talent that the universe has blessed me with. I'm not hiding it anymore.
Yes. So your gifts are gifts. They're presents. That's for you to create with. I mean, like when you think about what you come here to do, you come here to create. You come here to grow. You're coming here to grow and be creative in the solutions that you come up with to get to your next level. So
Mm-hmm.
whenever something bad happens, if you're looking at it like, oh no, this is terrible, and now I'm going to quit, well, that's a misuse of your growth tool. That's your
Right.
tool that you're supposed to take and say, okay, well, what do I want from this? Or
Right.
how did this make me feel? And how do I prefer to feel? So, and then to your point about not using your gifts, this is kind of how I see it. I feel like if I stop sharing or if I stop talking to people about being their best self or whatever it is. I mean, at this point, I'm like, I want to talk about so many different things. But if I stop sharing, because that's what keeps coming up for me too, is I hate that I keep saying it like that, but that's just how it's coming to me. Sometimes my words are like, I just feel like, did I say that? Why would I say that like that? But I'm gonna stop trying to control the universe and just let it
Let
work.
it let it work.
So I feel like if you don't use your gifts, your creativity will not flow.
Mm.
So if you say, I know I'm good at this, but I don't want to give it to everyone. I'm gonna give it to some people. Your flow won't flow because you're not using it the way it was designed to be used. That's kind of the way I'm seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I like this conversation.
But you know,
I,
someone that it comes to mind is Lizzo, and
mhm,
I mean I adore her, and you know the thing about her, she has never given up. She's been doing music for a long time, and now you know you're seeing her like she's blowing up. But
right,
look how she's using her gifts. She's using her gifts to spread them. She's just being herself, first of all, but she's spreading a message, and you see a message that people that over years that people are like not really paying attention to, or there those that are out there, especially a body consciousness, if they don't really want to talk about it, but they kind of limit themselves in talking with it.
right,
She's like you either gonna like me or I don't care. And so, but it's not you're not to be like cocky or to be dismissive of anybody. But she's like, I am who I am, and you should be who you are. And people
hmm,
are receptive to that, and you see it. When she's doing her performance, and people are just going crazy. I mean, you see how infectious her gift is, and that's the way I look at it. For anybody who is kind of struggling, trying to decide, or they're kind of getting tired of the rejection, or they're just that plaguing doubt, which sometimes the doubt is ourselves,
hmm,
it's not other people. But if you decide to be courageous, and I'm gonna push through. I'm gonna do this. Some people are gonna catch on. Some people are not. But the ones that catch on, those are the ones that I was supposed to impact. And then that is
yes,
going to trickle down. It's going to be a trickle down effect. Those same people are going to, say, well, I need to listen to, this podcast. This I need to read this book. I need to listen to this music artist. I need to do this, that, or the other. And then you'll see again. It goes back to how your gifts, how they'll grow. As long, don't hide them anymore. Just be
right.
yourself unapologetically. Just do it.
Jen, that's kind of, first of all, let me say, I'm glad that you and I became friends and
Me
um,
too.
we we did our date in Ladies Night because had we not done that, we wouldn't be, working together on business projects and
Hmm.
planning the most amazing writers workshop Houston's going to see.
Yes.
And we wouldn't be doing this. And what you're saying is pretty much what I've been saying is like, you have to be authentic. You
Hmm.
have to, because the people that are supposed to hear your message will, as long as you continue to be authentic and do the work and share your work, the people who you're supposed to reach, you'll reach them.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a lesson I had to learn on my own writing journey. It went
Right.
from um not being afraid to use my last name because, I'm like, who's gonna want to read something by, Jenn Ekeoba? So it was like Jenn E. But it's like I didn't, feel like myself. And so, along that journey, it's like, you know what? I'm gonna embrace who I am. I'm gonna embrace being, a nerd. I'm a straight up nerd.
Right.
Um, and do that. And I felt better doing that. And the times that I decide to kind of pull myself back and say, well, no, that doesn't seem marketable enough. That's when the trouble started. And it's like,
Yes,
nope.
when you're trying to kind of ride a trendy wave or you want to be like everybody else, like just
Exactly.
be whoever you're going to be, like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing on YouTube, but I'm gonna get on there, like but my thing is I don't want to be just like the next person.
No.
Yes, do I want to have success? Of course, but I have success every week because I release an episode. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Oh, it's 111. Hey, girl.
That
I'm
number
so
has
into
been
numerology.
following me.
Okay, well, you need to find out what it means. Let
I
me let
need
me
to.
tell you. Let me get it for you.
Okay.
I was singing it too a couple weeks ago, but my number that I always see over and over again is 54504 514. And so I'm always, and which is weird because that's my birth date, but
Oh.
I always see that number. And I also see repeating numbers, but it just kind of always means to me that you're right, you got it, you're okay, we're with you, keep walking. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's hard in spirituality and in life to keep going
Oh my
because
God.
you always feel like I'm by myself, you know what I mean? And you're
Yeah.
not. There are people with you. Like yesterday, one of our vendors for Healthy Vibes called me and she started reading me, which I knew that she had that capability and she was able and she was,
Mhm.
a reader. But I wasn't prepared for her to do that because we didn't even really get to introduce on the phone. She just started. But
Wow.
the things that she said to me are the answers that I needed because that's like she was just telling me that I need to be, in my femininity. That's what I've been working on, and that my son and I were having some trouble. We have been beefing out, and just that I was in my purpose, that I need to be able to share. I don't need to be scared to talk about spirituality or the numbers or what I know or what comes to me because
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to lose a lot of people because I'm going to be acting like a weird psychic girl. And, and people are not ready for that from me because that's not how they were introduced to me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I can't be scared. I got to share. And that's it, like 514. I went to go look at the numbers and see what the vibrations were.
Mm-hmm.
And I really kind of got out of it. I need to publicize. I need to continue to share. I need to start talking more about what I'm knowing as opposed to just being like, hey, I'm a cute girl. I talk a little bit. Like, what am I talking about? You know what I mean?
Right.
What am I sharing? What is my real mission? So
Right.
let's just see what 111 is bringing to you.
I'm scared.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared. It's nothing scary at all. It actually is a very comforting because it's just kind of like I said, sort of like a blanket, like a security blanket that you're
Mhm.
not by yourself and that the people that you think are not listening to you, they hear you every day, they see you every day, you're not alone.
Mhm.
The number 111 is a sign that the gate of opportunity is open. Your thoughts are manifesting at record speed. It's pretty good.
Wow.
So basically, I think to me, this one always means you need to be working in your sharing. You know what I mean? Like you need to be
Yeah.
sharing your message. You need to be taking the opportunities that are going to come to you and just make sure you jump on them because I mean, you don't want to miss giving your message to somebody who needs it.
Mhm. That's interesting. Okay. So I'm going to uh take that. I'm going to meditate on that and just hope I don't sabotage myself, because then that's where that stubbornness would come back in. It's like, I don't know, this might seem suspicious, but I don't know.
Well,
But
that's the thing. It's like when we say, and this is what I've always had so many problems with this, but whenever, like, if you're saying, I want to do X, and then the universe is like, okay, here's your opportunity.
hmm
And then you go, I'm a little bit nervous. I don't, or maybe you have a lesson that you're supposed to learn and you ignore it several times. You're going to
hmm
get a whoop, you know,
yeah. Oh, and
happen. Thank you, Pop.
yeah, I've gotten plenty, so I don't want any more. You hear that, universe? I don't want any more weapons. I'm not. I don't want them anymore. I'm starting to listen, and but honestly, I have been seeing that number since June.
Yeah, it's time. It's time.
Is I mean, and it's random. I'll be at work on conference calls, and it'll be 11:11, or
Hmm.
I'll wake up at night 11:11. I'm like,
Yes,
or I was like, what is going
talking
on?
to you. They're telling you. They want you to pay attention. That's what I'm saying when I tell you that there's something special in you. It's because people who notice the numbers and the communication from spirits, because I can't talk to you like with words.
hmm
So they want us to notice the numbers. So like when you see those numbers, that's synchronicity. You have to figure out what they're trying to tell you. So to me, like go to Google, because Google, there's a lot of people who are numerology experts, and like there's various ruminations of, is that the word? I feel like that's not the word. There's there's various I feel like that's not the word, but there's various sites where they talk about, the number, and they give their ideas on it or whatever, however it makes them feel, just like I did. Just,
hmm
but I mean, it's really kind of up to you to come up with the interpretation. And the only way you can do that is by being still in your meditation. So good girl.
Okay, I need to actually do some research into that. Well, okay.
Yeah. I'm super obsessed with the numbers because I see them all the time. And at first it scared me and it made me feel like I was a weird person. But then I was like, I know I'm not the only one. So it's not weird and it must mean something.
hmm
And so that's why I went to go look, and I kind of found that 504 was like, you're moving in the right direction, keep going. But then whenever I got derailed, I started seeing 54, which was like, be careful of your thoughts because
Wow.
everything is manifesting for you rapidly. So when I see it now, I'm like, I need to change my thought process real quick. Because if I find myself kind of being negative and going, I will see
hmm
it. And I'm like, I heard you. I know. And I will
Wow.
change my mindset because I'm studying the law of attraction
hmm
and I'm finding, of course, that it works, but there's so much truth in that your thoughts become your reality. Because if I go into my office and every day and I'm like, I hate it here, it's going to be a miserable day. Well, it's going to
Right.
be a miserable day, you know. But if I say I'm going to have a great day and I'm going to do this and these things are going to happen, then that's what happens. So when I see the number, I'm like, okay, I need to remember that I need to let go of that negativity
hmm
and try to remember to stand in this positive place, which is not easy. I mean, it's easier to be negative.
Yes, it is. And and I say this all the time. Being positive, it's not like I can just turn on a switch. Like, I
Right.
have to work at that,
Mm-hmm.
because like you said, to your point, it's so easy to be negative, but to, and I like what you said, about your thoughts. um you do manifest things through your thoughts, and you really have to be mindful. I hate using that word, mindful, but fun, but you have to just be aware, when you
Yes, aware. That's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
aware of of what your thoughts are and how you're interacting with people. Because like you said, if you're just thinking, oh, I don't want to be here, I'm gonna have a bad day, you will have a bad day, because you already have this perception of your space, and so your interactions will always be negative because you have this negative mindset. So
Mhm.
I hear you.
Yeah. And I think another thing too is that whenever we start seeing numbers or we start feeling highly aware, even of our thoughts, we need to be open to people that are coming into our lives also. Because just like with the vendor that called, I don't want to put her name out there yet because I'm not sure. She was actually a little bit hesitant to talk about her gifts and her talents. Um, and start to really promote herself as who she is as opposed to what she said she was
Hmm.
before she maybe knew. But even in her calling me, when I'm asking last week for help, I didn't say where I wanted to come from or how it would come to me. I just had to be open to it. So I was seeing five, and that's what was saying share, publicize, tell people, tell
Hmm.
people. Make sure that you're walking in your purpose and you're sharing. And then she called and she was like, you need to be walking in your purpose and sharing. And I was like, that's so I got the answer because I saw the number, but a lot of people don't pay attention to that.
Hmm.
So they don't see the conversations that are really being had, like your guide speaking to you and saying, hey, be careful, or everything is good, or, I just think if everyone was more aware, we would all be a little bit more happy. And
True.
now,
True.
now we didn't got all weird. But
I mean, but that's just honestly, that's how the universe works. You never really know, how a conversation would go because again, it goes. We're talking about this now. We're having these conversations, and that random number, you happen to look at it. I was like, what? And then I saw it. It's like, oh, this something's crazy. But I didn't think that this would be, my chance of being educated. But um that was the purpose, and that was your purpose, so
right.
I
And that's
appreciate that.
you're welcome. I think that's what she meant whenever she said to me that, because I've been apprehensive about just talking about it because
Hmm.
it is different and it's new for me, and people who know me are going to be like, when she turned into a witch or whatever. No, I'm not, but like, you know what I mean? Like it's going to be something for people to discover,
Hmm.
and they're gonna and I'm gonna it's gonna open me up to censure, but I have to be able to say I'm not even tripping on that.
Right. Right.
So do you want to tell everybody where they can find your book?
Yes, you can find my book on Amazon.com, um, and it's available on Kindle, and it's also now available in paperback form. Finally, yay! Um, and you can always, I'm trying to get back on Instagram and do my funny stuff on there. You can follow me on Instagram at Jenn Ekeoba, Ekeoba.
I was
Because
gonna say,
people
please
don't.
spell it. It's definitely is not spelled the way that it sounds.
No, it doesn't. And I always have to tell people that the second E is silent, because when they see it, uh, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there.
Well, I've been saying it wrong.
Okay. Well,
I'll say
you're not the only one. People I've known for years will still pronounce it incorrect. I was like, really, dude? Ugh, fine, But that's my chance to correct you. There you
okay. Okay, cool. Anything else?
go. No, this has been a great conversation. I didn't expect to get a numerology session, but I appreciate it. And
You're
now I'm gonna
welcome. Well, I didn't
be
expect to do it, but
see, I'm helping you walk in your purpose. See, there you
yes.
go.
I learned the other day after talking to my mom. My mom used to do numerology,
Hmm.
and well, she was really interested in it. But my dad actually used to do readings on astrology, and they would do like charts together.
Oh,
And no one
see,
told me, so I thought I was fucking weird for no reason.
see, you blame it on the parents. See how they just keep things from us? Wow. See,
Well, I
you had
just
that
wish I would
gift.
have known that it was not that it was not wrong for me to feel in touch with nature or, you know, different things like that. And I think they didn't tell me just because they had so much ties to the church and
Mm-hmm.
growing up both, you know, in Christianity. My dad was Catholic. I think they just he eventually was like, I feel like I'm going to hell or something, so he quit. So they never talked about it.
Okay. But you got a double dose of it though. So, oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm okay with it. I just I wish I would have known earlier. All right, so that was this week's episode. Come back next week. I will have Chris Ward Jr. What is this? The Breakthrough Mentor. Yes, indeed. All right, so see you guys next week. Bye.